Welcome to Ag Matters, covering positive agriculture stories from across Alaska on Big Cabbage Radio.
Hi, you're listening to Ag Matters Radio, and I'm your host, Ken Hoffman. I'm the owner of Matsu Microgreens, but also the executive director of the Matsu Farm Bureau. If any of you are interested in joining the Farm Bureau, please email me at matsufarmbureau@gmail.com or visit our website, alaskafb.org. The Matsu Farm Bureau is a big supporter of this program and promotes Ag Matters Radio. So today's guest is Jenny Vanderweele with Fresh Starts Farm, a good friend of mine. And Jenny's on the other line. So how are you doing today, Jenny?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Ken.
We'll start off with your story with Fresh Starts. How did it come to be, and how long you've been running the nursery?
Okay, this will be our 9th season. It's kind of hard to imagine and kind of hard to believe, but my mom and dad ran Gray Owl Farm. That would be Craig and Kathy Baker. They did Gray Owl Farm up the highway past the Muskox Farm for almost 20 years. They had the greenhouse business up there. And then my husband, Roger, and I purchased the greenhouses and moved them down to our place close to the fairgrounds. And so now we have Fresh Starts Farms, and we do hanging baskets and annuals and perennials during the nice spring growing season.
Wow, amazing. So the products that you sell, could you go more into that? Like what varieties of flowers that you grow, or apple trees and things like that, or is it just flowers?
Yeah, it's pretty much just flowers. We have, I would say, dabbled in some things, but there are other greenhouses that do that better. And so we've concentrated mostly on what my mom and dad had started, which is my mom has just beautiful imagination for hanging basket. And so that's kind of what I concentrate on. We do a lot of pre-orders and a lot of for sale hanging basket, but annuals and really just, basically hundreds of varieties. We are kind of known for having unique things that other places may not have. For fillers, if you like texture in your baskets, if you like trailers and long hanging wispy imaginative baskets, that's what we do. And then we do have a variety of perennials as well, but perennial flowers mostly, no trees or shrubs.
So what's your personal favorite variety of flower?
Ooh, good question. I get asked this a lot, and I'm not sure. I do love coleus. I have a coleus problem. Every year we order a fair amount of coleus, and it's just such a beautiful foliage texture plant that adds so much to a hanging basket. So I say we, but it's me. I'm addicted to coleus, and so every year I try out new varieties. But if they didn't have other flowers to play off of them, they wouldn't be as spectacular. So we just have a lot of variety. I'm a fan of just the standard like petunias and calibrachoa and the osteospermums and the begonias. Like I just like all the things, but when we put them together in the combinations, they complement each other and just make a beautiful arrangement.
Wow. So say I walk into your nursery and I'm an amateur gardener. I really have a brown thumb. I've never done it before. What would be your advice to a new gardener on what flowers to pick out? Is it best to buy a ready-made basket, or should I go through and pick out better varieties? What would be your recommendation?
Yeah, good question. I would take you around the greenhouse for a tour. That would be the first thing I would do with you, and just talk to you about your comfort level. If you want a ready-made garden, hanging baskets are the way to go. If you want to plant them, then there's an enjoyment and a therapy and a contentment that comes with making your own things, whether it's growing food or planting flowers for your soul. If that's what you're into, come on by and we'll walk you through the greenhouse. There are some plants that are maybe a little easier to take care of if it's your first go around, and we can point you in those directions. But really just to be playful with plants. Alaska is kind of an amazing place for flowers. We have had greenhouse people from out of state come up, and they grow the same varieties that we grow, but in Alaska, for some reason, the colors are more vivid, the blooms are larger, they just spectacular. We believe it's because of the sun and of course all the love that goes into everything. But I think just being playful with flowers and allowing whatever colors and textures feed your enjoyment of life, you can't go wrong. You really just can't go wrong. Don't be afraid of it. It's really exciting.
Beautiful. Wow. You have such a large variety of flowers. Do all of them need full sun, or are there plants that can handle a little bit of shade for some of the folks out there that don't have a sunny south-facing view? Is there such thing as shade-loving plants?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yes. We do have a lot of customers that live, their houses are in a wooded area, or, they just don't have this, they have a north-facing area or an east-facing. And absolutely, there's actually several, and it's not just your standard begonia plants either, although those work well in shade. There's impatiens and terenia, and a lot of the fillers do well. Pansies always do well in any environment, really. But there's just a lot to choose from when it comes to shade areas. So, yeah, we have a little of both, and we have hanging baskets that are built for both sun and for shady areas. So you'll find it all.
Very good. Folks walk into your nursery, they pick out the plants. Are they ready to go to plant outside, or is there a hardening off process that's required? Do you harden them off, or what would be your recommendation?
Yeah, good question. And we get asked that a lot. We don't harden our plants off. So when you take them out of the greenhouse, it'd be the first time that they'd be feeling the full sun. So when you take plants out of the greenhouse, they absolutely need hardened off. And that's a process that we have established, a little handout when you leave our greenhouse. You can grab one. But basically, it's like us going to Hawaii after a long winter. You don't want to just park yourself on the beach and spend 8 hours. Just like the flowers cannot be set outside for the first time in 8 hours of sun. They're going to burn just like we do. So we recommend a slow introduction to the sun. So when you take the flowers home, you give them a couple of hours in indirect sun. The next day, add a couple more hours, and within 4 or 5 days, now they're ready for full sun. So, yeah, it's a slow process, but it's similar to people, if you can imagine yourself.
When is your nursery open for business? When can people come in and shop around?
Yeah, we are open this year on April 15th. We always try to open right around Tax Day to try to give Tax Day a little bit of a happier connotation. So just remember, April 15th always is when we open, and we are located at 1505 South Inner Springer Loop, which is the road you turn down to go to the fair if you're from Anchorage. And we are open 10 to 6 every day until the end of May.
Okay. After May, during the off season, what is the farm doing? Is there anything happening at the nursery? I'm familiar that you guys have farm tours as well.
Yeah, so my husband's family, we close our greenhouse at the end of May because my husband's family, Vanderweeles, have potatoes and carrots and a vegetable farm that we kind of participate in helping also. So we kind of need our summers free to get out into the field and do that work. And then we do offer a few farm tours to an out-of-state group that specializes in agricultural tours. So that's more my husband's. We just provide the food and refreshments, and my husband gives them the tour of the vegetable farm here in Palmer. So that's kind of our, the whole picture as far as our family and agriculture. Vanderweeles have been doing agriculture here for over 60 years, since the late 60s, and so we're excited to offer fresh, amazing local food to Alaska and to the customers here in the valley too. And whenever you see an Alaska grown sign, there's usually some Vanderweele love that goes into that. So thank you for supporting the vegetables locally grown here in the state.
So Roger's family has a long farming background. Let's talk about a little bit more about your family. I know your parents, you said Gray Owl Farm. Are they still involved with Fresh Starts, or have they fully retired and moved on?
Yeah, so for years, when we first bought the greenhouse, of course, I grew up being next to my mom when she was running the greenhouse, but running it yourself is a completely different thing. So I relied on her heavily. She for the first couple years, she was right by my side, teaching me how to make these amazing baskets and how to run a greenhouse business. And my dad just awesome help because, he knows all the nuts and bolts of how greenhouses run. So that was super helpful for the first couple years after we bought it. And then they continued to run a sod business on Gray Owl Farm for lots of years after that. And they also have peonies for sale in the summer. So they have quite a long background as well. My dad was one of the original dairy farmers out at Point McKenzie when that first started out. We moved up from Iowa in the early 80s to give that a shot. And then when that didn't work out, he was manager of the Muskox farm for a while. And then they started the Gray Owl Farm in like the early 90s, I think. So yeah, I've been fortunate enough to have two sides of farming background in my life. And it's really kind of directed my life and kind of pointed me in the direction that really brings me a lot of joy.
Wow, that's amazing. So go a little bit more detail into your products that you grow. One thing I noticed that the custom baskets is quite unique to your nursery. I don't see a lot of nurseries offering that. Could you go into more detail on how that works? How do people place an order for a custom basket? Do you choose the flowers that go into the basket, or do they? What is that process?
Yeah, good question. We can do it however people want to do it. We have some customers absolutely know everything they want in a basket, and that's what we put in it. Some customers want me to just be creative and do kind of my style, and I'm happy to do that. And then there's customers that are say, hey, just do what you like, but please don't add any yellow flowers, or please don't add orange flowers. I like all colors except for that one. Or it's very specific. And the kinds of things we add into a basket that you might not see everywhere are the fillers. And I think we have a really unique variety of those things. We have grasses and texture and fillers that you won't find everywhere else. And those are the kinds of things I think when people have their baskets hanging on their house that maybe people go, hey, where'd you get that? I don't see that very often, because some of these big baskets that I'm putting together right now have sometimes over 20 to 25 different kinds of plants in them. And so it's not like a standard 3-plant mix that you might see other places. We try really hard to be unique. We're very small. We're just a small family greenhouse. And so we try to do things that might make you stop and go, that is really something. Look at all of those different things. And throughout the summer, as they grow on, you'll notice different things popping out at different times, different blooms coming out throughout the summer. And it's a little bit of a surprise every time you turn around. Like, one day the callies are really popping. Next day it's the geranium or the petunia, and the foliage is always looking good, and just different varieties of things. The process to ordering them typically is to come in and see our style, kind of look around. We have a lot of baskets for sale, just right off the shelf, and you can come in and look at all those. If you like one, you can tag it, meaning you can pay for it and put your name on it, and we will keep it for you until the weather gets warm enough for you to take it home. So that's a nice service that we offer. And then pre-orders are if you know exactly kind of what you want in a basket and you aren't going to be here on April 15th when we open, we can make them ahead of time for you so that you don't have to worry about coming in on your own. And so that's just a phone call to me, and we'll work out a plan for your baskets this summer. Sadly, the pre-order time is over, but we do take pre-orders for next year. We'll be taking those for next year coming up.
So do you notice, is it normal folks that are buying your pre-order baskets, or do you have a lot of corporate businesses that purchase? Because going around Palmer, I know I've seen a few of your baskets at businesses. Is that true, or am I making that up?
No, it's a nice mix. I would say mostly it's private individuals on their homes. But yeah, every now and then I would say, a dozen maybe businesses around the valley probably use Fresh Starts baskets. And then it's a nice mix, I think, of different places. And, we're such a connected to community. Our houses are next to our businesses, and I love that flow of Palmer. And it makes me happy when I drive by and see flowers next to a business that has also the flowers. It's just a cool community feeling. I'm very grateful to our local community.
Beautiful. Okay, so finally, do you have a website or social media that people can use to follow you or get in touch?
Yeah, our big ones that we do this time of year are Instagram and Facebook, Fresh Starts Farms. Just find that on both Facebook and Instagram. And then we do have a website, but because all of our baskets are pre-order custom kinds of baskets, we don't have like where you could click on a basket and order it up. So just we recommend coming on in. We have a full experience in our greenhouse. You walk in, there's soft music playing, there's fountains running, there's places to sit. There's just an environment of spring and relaxing, and it's just full of life and color. So you're welcome to come in, walk around, enjoy yourself, and just enjoy a little early taste of spring. So, yeah, but if you want to follow us on social media, Instagram and Facebook are the way to go for us.
Wonderful. You know, we're neighbors, and I think I've been an employee off and on for maybe 4 or 5 years, my wife and I, and it's our favorite time of year, working in the greenhouse, shaking off that cabin fever from the winter time. And so I'm super excited for it to open up on April 15th, and I know a lot of my friends in Palmer also love just being in there. It's a beautiful ambiance. It's the music, the artistry, the little clay frogs everywhere. We love it. So one more time, if you wouldn't mind just saying your address of where the nursery is and time of day that it's open and the season.
Okay, yeah, Fresh Starts Farms out at the fairgrounds or close to the fairgrounds at 1505, that's 1505 South Inner Springer Loop in Palmer. And we're open every day starting on April 15th from 10 to 6, every day, Saturdays and Sundays included, and closing the end of May.
Okay, well, that's great. Thank you so much, Jenny, for taking the time. I know you're busy. It's April, so you're prepping. Thank you so much. And everybody, you've been listening to Ag Matters on Big Cabbage Radio. This is your host, Ken. Adios.
You've been listening to Ag Matters, covering positive agriculture stories from across Alaska. Ag Matters is a production of Radio Free Palmer, recorded at our studios in Palmer, Alaska. For more information about this program, email manager@radiofreepalmer.org.